Welcome to the Dedicated Show. We are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch, and we're here to talk to you about why infused analytics is critical to business success. Our special guest for today is Tom Linton. He's the Global Director, Technical Account Management at Sisense, and he's going to help us talk about what is infused analytics. We'll talk about some of the benefits, some of the challenges, adoption rates for infused analytics, and I can't wait to bring him on. But before I do, I always like to remind the audience that you can ask us questions. This is live for a reason. Otherwise, you'd watch this in a pre-recorded fashion. So go ahead, feel free to put your questions into the comments from whatever platform you're joining us on. And as you're joining, also let us know, are you familiar with infused analytics? Have you heard the term before? So basically just tell us if you were never heard of it before, or if you've heard of it, or if you used infused analytics now. It'll be really helpful for us to sort of set the stage and know where to take the conversation. I see folks are joining us already. So hello, Dustin from Milwaukee. I love it. We've got Shanur from Bangladesh. Andrew, good to see you here from the UK. I love it. All right, folks, as you join, just let us know your basically comfort level with infused analytics. And like I said, that's going to help us drive the rest of the 45-minute conversation. All right, I'm going to go ahead and bring Tom up on our stage. Hello, Tom.
Hello. Thanks
Welcome
for having
to the Dedicated Show.
Yes, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So glad to have you here. And I'm just looking into the comments. We've got folks trickling in from all over the world. They're all here to hear you speak. So before we get into it, I like to do a little intro conversation. So why don't you just let the audience know a bit about yourself? What do you do at Sisense, and how, or what does Sisense do as well?
Yeah, I love it. So my name's Tom Linton. I'm the Global Director of Technical Account Management, or just head of TAMS for short. And what we do here at Sisense is embedded analytics, infused analytics everywhere. So we play in the space with a lot of other BI tools that you may be familiar with. And yeah, I'm going to stop there, actually, Kate, on this one, because I know you have some more questions for me, I'm sure. So
I have lots of,
and then we can keep going.
Yes, absolutely. I have lots of questions, and I'm also looking in to see if people are familiar with infused analytics. So, for example, Andrew here has not heard of it or used it, so I can't wait to let him know what that's all about. Before we even get into that topic, I want to just spend a bit more time on you and ask, how long have you been at Sisense?
Yeah, so I've been at Sisense a little over 3 years now. Started back in 2019, I believe, pre-pandemic. So I feel like that's important to mention nowadays. Pre-pandemic employee here at Sisense, and have been with them for the last 3 years and seen them grow and change with the market and how people consume data.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, the PCP, the pre-COVID pandemic times, that era, the good old days, right? Awesome. And so Dustin is also, excited to learn more about infused analytics. I think let's go ahead and get into it and unveil the mystery. Tell us, what is infused analytics?
Yes, absolutely. So infused analytics, I'm sure like everybody thinks it's another marketing term. It's not. So, and I'm going to dive into infused analytics and embedded analytics because I think it's important to distinguish the two. That's probably where a lot of the confusion lies. So I want to start with embedded analytics. Think of embedded analytics as what we've done for the past at least 10 years for sure, where we've taken a dashboard, we've embedded it with an iframe within an application, whether that's your application that you sell on to your customers and that's your analytics offering, or maybe it's an internal application like Confluence or whatever, and you're embedding a dashboard within there to get people data. That's always been the traditional way of getting analytics to people in tools that they use every single day. Infused analytics takes it a step further. And that step further is we're going to allow you to build apps in basically any tool that you have out there that allows you to build apps. And we've already pre-built, already pre-built some apps out there for things like Google Sheets, Google Slides, Excel, Power BI, you name it. We have different plugins out there that allow you to put data at people's hands, answer questions that you have about your business in the tools you use every day.
Mhm.
So a great use case here that I like to mention, and I'll just keep it short. Great use case is people use Slack every day. I know I'm a heavy Slack user. Microsoft Teams is another one. What if you could just go into Slack or go into Teams and say, for me specifically, who owns this account? And then boom, I get an answer back from a curated data model that already is squared away. That's infused analytics. Is I work in Slack every day. I just want to get my answers there. I don't want to have to log into Salesforce, which has multi-factor authentications, and I get my phone out and I'm trying to log in, and it takes 10 minutes to answer every single question I want to answer.
Awesome. I love that. Thank you so much for helping everyone understand sort of the differences between infused analytics, embedded analytics, and talking about the why we actually need this. Is infused analytics more of a recent term then? Because I am familiar with embedded analytics, but infused was a bit new to me.
Yeah, I think so. So for us specifically, we've been working on this for probably the last year and a half, 2 years,
Mhm.
in different arenas, and we finally landed and we hit the market with it a few months back. Really pushing the message hard, which is let's put the data exactly where you work and the tools you work with every single day. So definitely, I would say a newer term, and I would not just call it a rebrand of an old term of embedding. It really does take on a different light when I can literally ask a question or show me orders for yesterday, and then I get a nice table in Slack or in Google Sheets, whatever it may be.
Yeah, definitely. Seems very valuable. We've got a lot of questions coming in here. I'll take this one from George. He's asking, is there a particular industry that benefits more from infused analytics than others?
Ooh, good question. I really think the answer is no. Every industry can benefit from infused analytics. The
Hmm.
biggest challenge is how do people use data within your company? What tools do they use? And what questions do they ask? That's really what it comes down to. And you can provide value down to even a line worker in a manufacturing facility.
Hmm. Yeah, I say it's similar to where is data valuable, right? At all industries. So this can relate to all industries as well. All right, question from Dustin here. He's asking, how quickly can an organization begin using infused analytics?
Uh, like that.
Like that,
So,
guys. Snap of
yeah,
fingers.
I mean, the beauty of it is, look, there's always some, making sure you have data first and
Yeah.
connecting to your data and all that, that everybody does here and there. But then it's just a matter of, downloading, for example, the Slack app and authenticating, and you're off to the races.
Okay. So in general, so you work with many different clients across different industries. Let's say they come to you and they have this use case where they need infused analytics. What is the? I know it's not just like that, right? Assuming they have the best data, it's still a process, right? So how long does it actually take on average? I'm sure it depends on the amount of data and the use case, but is it really that instant?
Yeah, no, good question. So I mean, it can be that instant, right? If I have a simple model that orders, for example, that's always my favorite to use, and
Yeah.
it's already ready to rock and roll. It literally is downloading the Google Sheets app or whatever it may be, Sisense for Google Sheets, and then hitting the just going off to the races and typing a question in or selecting fields that you want. For example, to bring into a Google Sheet to do whatever analysis you want to do in Google Sheets. In all reality, you're going to spend most of your time trying to curate a model that answers as many questions as you can without getting too wide. That's
Yeah.
always the challenge there. And I'm sure we'll talk about challenges here over the next 30 or 40 minutes or so.
Oh yeah, challenges are my favorite. We like to talk about benefits, we like to talk about challenges and lots of tips and how to and absolutely we'll definitely get there. Right now, I do want to take another question here in terms of business units, right? And I know this might vary, but is there a particular space where you typically, where you start with infused analytics and who are more commonly the first adopters of this technology?
Ooh, I hate to go back to the it doesn't really matter, but it really doesn't. The way I would look at this if I had a company and I was looking at infused analytics and I said, well, which department do I start with? I'm probably going to start with the department that has the biggest need for it,
Hmm.
and we can reap the biggest benefit to them having data and making data driven decisions in an easy way. So I'm going to know that about my business. Maybe that's my finance department. They're constantly in Google Sheets. And one of their biggest challenges, for example, is just refreshing data in Google Sheets and getting it. it's a very cumbersome process where they go into SQL Server or whatever it is, they grab the data, copy, paste, and then they do their magic after that. Maybe there's big value there. So I'm always going to look at it from a who gets the most value, number one. And then I also want to look at the scope of the project too. Is this a project that's going to take 6 months because we got to clean the data first and they have no curated data?
Yeah.
If that's the case, maybe I'm going to tackle that one over time and find a little bit easier use case to implement first to hit the ground running.
Yes, that absolutely makes sense. And just staying on the topic of adoption rates, what have you seen in the marketplace in terms of business intelligence tools in general, right? Is there a high adoption rate for, let's say, something that's already built, and you built it for 100 people? Do you actually see those 100 people using the technology?
Yeah, that's always been the biggest challenge of the BI industry in general. You typically see low adoption rates, and we've attacked that and are continuing to attack that from, let's not just make people go to our application to then look up a pre-built dashboard that maybe has an answer. Maybe they can drill down a little bit and try and find an answer to their answer to their answer.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of always plagued the industry. So really the adoption and how we address that now is trying to reduce the barriers to people answering their own questions.
Mm-hmm.
I think you've probably heard this a million times with Dedicated, but Excel is the biggest BI tool in the world, right?
And database as well. Yes.
Yes, exactly. So we want to make sure we empower people to do their own analysis in those tools. And the biggest challenge is just getting the data, which drives adoption again.
Yeah, people have this sort of fear of going to the next business intelligence tool and stepping away from Excel. Nothing wrong with Excel, right? It has its purpose for sure. But I think it is this fear. And one way I was able to get some people over the hump is just to show them how easy it can be and the art of the possible, and like make them do it. Like, try it, Tom. It's not going to hurt. I promise. And then they're like, oh, I love it. I need more of this, right? So it's just showing them, showing the benefits and the amount of time you can save and the less errors and all the good stuff that comes along with this. So yeah, I guess in terms of increasing the adoption rate, do you have any best practices, tips on how to actually not make people use it, but make them want to use it? Do you take away the Excel? Maybe do you take away all their other sources and make this the only way to get answers?
No, absolutely not. People are going to work in the tools they want to work within.
Yeah.
I think and that attacks the strategy of infused analytics everywhere. We want to make sure we're putting data in the places that people use it from curated data models that are controlled by people that know how to calculate, your gross profit, your margins, and all that fun stuff, to ensure that everybody, no matter where they use it, they're at least using the correct data and the correct calculations to be able to build whatever they're building.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that I really want to make sure anybody addresses, it doesn't really have to do with the BI tool, but you need to spend time understanding the use cases you're trying to solve and making sure you work with the business to gather their business requirements and enable them. It doesn't matter what tool you have. If you don't enable the business to use the tool, they're not going to use it. I can't tell you how many times our company's bought a tool. I've never heard about it. All of a sudden it's out there. And I don't know if I've ever logged into the thing, and it could have good information, but I wasn't enabled.
Well, okay, let's define enabled. What steps need to be taken in order for you to actually use that tool?
To enable, you kind of froze up.
Yeah, what would make you feel enabled to use that tool?
Yeah. So I think the first thing that you have to do to enable people is to get them in the tool and give them the tour of the tool. Here's the tool. Here's how you look at data. Here's how you do such and such. Then you go into real use cases. Tell me what type of information you need every day. For me, it's all account-based information and trying to understand where our accounts are, how much we billed to our accounts, how much we haven't billed, how much is still left on, a bulk contract, something like that. Those are the questions I have. If I don't know how to do that and I haven't been trained how to grab that information, where it lives, how to use it, I'm probably not going to use the tool. So we got to spend time on real use cases, not just here's how you build a line chart.
Yes. Okay. And another question following up on that. So defining training, right? Would an email suffice, a pre-recorded video, or do you see this more of as an in-person workshop or a Zoom call? What do you think is the best practice there to actually get people to use it?
Yeah, all mediums are fine. I prefer having in-person trainings, online trainings that people can get in and really start diving around and playing with the tool and getting comfortable with it, answering questions as you go. Videos are great for a quick walkthrough, but if somebody has a question, how do they ask it? So I think it is worth the time. In the data world, you have to spend time educating people on the data that your company has and how they're going to use that data, or how they can use that data.
Absolutely. I agree. If we don't educate, what's the point, right? Then you have a
Right.
great tool, but no one's using it. All right. Before I go on to my next question, we had some awesome ones coming in the audience. So, question here: does a company need to be at a certain phase of analytics maturity, aka have clean data? That's how I'm reading this or have data before leveraging infused analytics.
Yeah, look, I'll use the old saying, garbage in, garbage out. If you don't have good, clean data for any project, it doesn't matter what it is. If you don't have good data, you can't expect good results out the back end. So you really do have to take time to make sure you understand your data, that it's clean, and that when you ask a question, you're going to get the right answers. The worst thing you could possibly do is publish bad data out to people, and then they lose trust in the tool,
Oh my
and now
gosh.
you got to try and regain trust and get them to use a tool. So that would probably be the worst thing you could do there.
Yes, I've actually been there, not on purpose, where we were trying to get our stakeholders to use a specific business intelligence tool, moving them away from the massive spreadsheets and PDFs and PowerPoint. And the first thing they saw was like, this number does not match up with this number. And that was it. They're like, we want to go back to
Um,
that's it, all progress, halt. We don't want to hear from you. And I'm like,
yes,
no, I promise this is better. Like your data is bad. Our data is clean. And then
yes.
it takes some time. But yeah, once you break that trust, that's pretty bad. So by the way, there was a Scott Taylor was in the audience, and he has a saying: instead of garbage in, garbage out, he says goodness in, goodness out. So there's another way, an optimistic way
I
to
like
talk.
it. That's a very optimistic approach. I like it. I like it.
Yes. Now moving away from optimism, let's talk about challenges. Let's talk about obstacles. So
Mhm.
sometimes things don't work out the way we want it to, right? Just like in the example you just mentioned, where we might lose trust if there's some sort of discrepancy or something that doesn't add up. So, what are some of the challenges and obstacles that companies face when trying to implement infused analytics?
Yeah, the biggest challenge by far is working with the business. I can't discount this, or I don't want to discount this at all. You have to work with the business to understand their requirements and what questions they're trying to answer every single day. I can build a cool orders model, but if it doesn't answer any of the questions that people have, then it's useless. So, taking the time in any project to sit down and understand what questions they have, what data is going to be needed to answer those questions. If you don't do that, your project's not going to be successful. That is always the biggest challenge with anything data wise. I can build a data model in 3 minutes, I can infuse it in something in a couple more minutes after that. But if I don't have a good data model and it's not going to answer the questions that people have in that department, the whole thing was a failure.
Yeah. So when you come into a company and they say we want infused analytics and here's our use case, but then you realize that their data is not in any specific shape that it needs to be in order to leverage it, what do you do then? As Sisense, do you actually help them clean that data? Do you tell them what to do, or do you tell them like, come back when you're ready? What's the process?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, we have tools within our tool, or things within our tool to help with data cleansing. One of the biggest advantages to Sisense is that we do have hybrid type models where you can have a live model that connects directly to a database, which is great if you have nice curated cloud data warehouses. But oftentimes you're running into, hey, we're using our application database to run analytics on it, and you start to cringe immediately. But we have this hybrid model where you can actually pull that data into Sisense and you can transform it on entry into Sisense. We have a high performance columnar database that lives, it's called the Elasticube, lives right within Sisense. And then on top of that, we have different functions to help clean up data, to help automatically curate. Let's say you have US, USA, United States. We can go through and make those all, for example, USA or something like that. And we can smartly do that for you. So we can definitely help with that. And that's where we're going to start, is cleaning up your data. And we probably do that in our tool, because if there's one thing that I realize, I would love everybody to have a great cloud data warehouse that's, fed from a data lake or something like that. So you have this nice curated data, but I understand that we're all at different points of the journey, and you need to be able to get information that you need to get to the next level of your company, to get to $50 million, to get to $80 million, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And you got to derive value from that somehow, without those tools sometimes.
Yeah. So just a quick follow up on that. Does a company's data have to be in the cloud data warehouse, or do you work with on-prem as well?
Yeah, no, we work with on-prem. We work with data really anywhere it lives. We can connect to it. That's as long as we can get to it, we can connect to it.
On the paper here, just feed it in.
Yeah. You could scan it, I guess.
Yeah, of course. All right, I'll take a few more questions from the audience here. Do you see any use cases for infused analytics in the supply chain? Seems like there could be an opportunity to infuse insights on lead times, etc. What are your thoughts on that?
I love that. I think that would be a great use case there with lead times, specifically, especially when you're looking at ordering something. Or, for example, let's say I work in the exporting business or something like that, and I need to ship something off, and I need to know what our lead times are right now, because I have to tell my customer, and I don't have anything that tells me what our lead time is. So maybe we use Slack, maybe we have Google Sheets, whatever it may be. And I'll just use Microsoft Teams as an example here. I'll go into Microsoft Teams and ask the question, what's our current lead time? Boom, 2 weeks, whatever it may be. Now I have that information that I can provide. I don't have to go chase down, John in shipping or whoever it may be to get that answer. We have it ready to
go. Okay, awesome. So in terms of your prior projects, right, that you've helped implement, what would you say was your favorite use case of how, because companies can use this in creative ways, right, for their own specific needs. Do you have a favorite use case that you can share without giving away too many details?
I do. This one is near and dear to my heart. So my first job, sit down at a computer job, long time ago now, was I maintained a resource plan in PowerPoint and Excel. Basically, you do all the calculations in Excel. Then I would have some macros that would transfer it over to PowerPoint. And basically that process took like a week to do, and you had to wait until all the numbers were up to date. And then you could go and you could export all this stuff and run all your macros and QA things. And that took a week to do. Ran into a customer with a very similar problem where they did a lot of reporting in Google Slides, and a lot of it was data based. So they, for example, had to try to think of one of the metrics they actually used. Can't think of any off the top of my head that they were specifically using, but I'll make one up here, the lead time. Right. If we have this report that we're giving out for them, they did these weekly reports in Google Slides, and they would present this to their leadership team, and their leadership team waited on it. Every Monday, they would go through and they would look at these metrics. That took them a long time to do, and it's a very manual process. So we went in, we used the Sisense Infused app for Google Slides, and we were able to make it to where it built a native chart within Google Slides that would show all their metrics. And whenever they needed to open it up for Monday, they'd open up for Monday, they'd click refresh, and it would grab the data as of, that date and time and refresh all that information. So they no longer needed somebody whose job was purely to go out and refresh all this stuff manually.
I love that. And, they keep saying that the robots and AI are coming to take our jobs, right? Do you think that there is a fear from any organizations or people out there that feel like maybe they will be replaced by this sort of technology, where they had this job to do every Monday to go in and refresh the reports, or before Monday refresh and make sure everything's there, and now they simply don't have to do that anymore? Do you think there's that fear out there, or are they thinking more optimistically and saying like, this can help me do my job?
I don't want to put words in people's mouths. Maybe they do have that fear, but I'll calm everybody down in that businesses have more problems than just refreshing data. So I think what it does is it makes you more valuable as a work. Now you don't have to be around just to click a button and refresh some things manually. They're going to put you on more tough to solve problems or different areas that they can help grow their business. There's a plethora of problems at every single business out there. Automating one portion is just letting you move on to another portion of the business and try and solve another problem.
Okay. Yeah, I love it. Thank you. Yeah, so it frees you up. So everybody calm down. It's going to be okay. You'll
That's
still
right.
have you'll still have work to do.
That's right.
Awesome. Let's move on over to tips, right? So let's see if companies are or people working at companies are sitting in the audience right now and they're like, "This is great. I have a use case." What do they do now? Do they get in touch with Sisense? Do they have to make sure they have clean data? Do they get approval first, or what's that process look like?
Yeah, get in touch with Sisense. Get in touch with us. You can go to our website. You can click a little button, and somebody will contact you and get you a free trial. It's not a big hard thing to get a free trial of Sisense. We want you in there. We want you using it. We want you trying it out. We'll give you access to our sales engineers who are experts in the product and can help you build out a use case. Maybe you have to convince your boss that this is something you guys should do, and we can help you with that. We have people on standby, ready
Awesome.
ready to help and solve whatever use case you may have. If anything, we'd love to just meet you and expand our network and meet some more exciting people, even if your use case doesn't fit.
Okay. So let's go back to the convincing your boss bit for a second. What
Yeah.
what would be some of the benefits that you would have this person go back to their boss with, like some of the benefits of using infused analytics?
Yeah. I mean, the first immediate benefit is just I know if you're looking at this and you're saying, man, I wish I could ask questions in Slack or look at orders in Slack. I know you have problems getting data today because you wouldn't even be considering this if it wasn't much of a problem before. So I think that's what you need to build your case on when you go to your boss is, hey, I have X problem. Maybe it's getting accurate order counts for something which fuels our inventory and whatnot. And here's this tool out here that can help me get that information in a very standard way. And I can just do it in Slack. Like you don't have to have another login to another website to do X, Y, and Z, and then another place to share data. It's just within our flow of everyday work. So
Yeah.
always start with finding that problem that you want to solve, and then we can help you demonstrate how it's going to make your life so much easier. You don't have to go this alone.
Oh, yeah, and I love that. The fact that they don't have to come up with all this by themselves because they can contact those who are standing by, waiting by the phone lines,
That's right.
waiting to
That's right.
hold your
Like
hand and
old
walk you
pledge
through it.
drives, where they have everybody in the background answering phones.
That's what I'm picturing, the PBS thing, right, where you call in
Yes.
and you donate money.
Yeah, exactly. I think of the show Friends with Joey when
Yes, and
he thought he was hosting it, but he was just answering phones.
yes, I love that show. All right, so first we had analytics, then we had embedded analytics, now we have infused analytics, and
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about the future. And now you get your
Oh,
crystal ball out, right, and you tell us what's next. Are you thinking there will be more innovations, more improvements on this topic,
yeah.
on this tool?
I think I'd love to tell you there's a flux capacitor coming out that's going to make this 50 million times better and AI and yada yada yada. But in all reality, what we're trying to do is use complex things behind the scenes to make it easier for you to get access to the data that you need. So what I expect from Sisense and really the market in the future here is investing in ways we can make your lives easier, getting data where you need it, setting it up easier, maybe auto cleansing data models even easier to help you get to a state much faster where you can start using data and getting to your ROI faster. I'm more of a pragmatist. I really like to look at it from the aspect of we want to make your life simpler, and that's what
Hmm.
I would expect from us in the future.
Okay, yeah, I think anything we can do to make it simpler. And I'm predicting in the next couple of years, more and more companies are moving to the cloud and sort of simplifying where their data sits and hopefully how clean that data is. I don't know. I am very optimistic though. I think it's getting better, but maybe in the future it's getting worse because there are just more tools and more data, and I guess we'll see. I don't have a
Yeah.
crystal ball either, so
I have a comment on that. I think the one thing that businesses can do to make their lives better today is treating the data that they have like a product that they produce. So invest the right resources in curating that data and coming up with deadlines, follow SDLC practices, like invest time into that being a product that you're selling back to your company and make it good. If you do that, you're going to be successful. That's for sure. You don't have to worry about how many tools you have or whatever. You've just invested the time in making a product that works for your company. Don't just treat it as like a redheaded stepchild.
yes, yes. That sounds good. All right. In terms of resources, right? If people want to learn more about the topic, or I know you mentioned people are standing by, but is there any place they can actually go to maybe read more about the topic, or actually where did they get that demo? Maybe we'll pop a link in the chat.
Yeah, I'll be sure to send you a link on, but go to the Sisense website. We have a whole section dedicated to our infused analytics, also some other, product areas that we offer. Explore the website. We have demo videos that show you the different apps and use cases for this infusion. You can really find out a lot of information there. And hey, if you're there and you really like it and you want to try it out, you can just try it out and we'll get you access to something.
Okay, sounds good. And I'll share a link to just the Sisense page after we wrap up here into the comments, so guys can go ahead and click. Or it's really simple. It's sisense.com. I mean, it's you've got one of the easier names, so congrats on that.
Right.
And Tom, I really want to thank you for coming on to the Dedicated show, really educating everyone here on what is infused analytics, talking through the benefits, the challenges, the implementation, the adoption. And I think this was really, really insightful. And this viewer just took the words right out of my mouth. This really was insightful. I love learning about all the cool new and maybe not so new technologies that people bring onto the show. So thank you again for your time here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I thought this was a great conversation. Really enjoyed some of the questions from your viewers and look forward to hopefully chatting in the future.
All right, sounds good. Well, to the audience, thank you again for your awesome questions and comments. We will see you next week. Thank you for tuning in.